Today on Beauty and the Babble, we have Elissa Goodman, who is a nutritionist, author of Cancer Hacks, and the founder of the amazing soup cleanse, SOUP. Welcome, Elissa.
Oh my God. Well, I'm so glad to be here. I love the fact that we met so many years ago and now like we're back together. And I love being asked to be on your podcast. So I'm very honored.
I'm so happy you're here. Yeah, we were just talking about it and we were laughing that we met at this weird random event up in the middle of nowhere and all roads lead to Rome. Look at us now.
Exactly. Still connecting, reconnecting.
Exactly.
Right. Like minds think alike.
Like
right?
minds think alike. And you know what? Apparently, you and I and Nicole out there are going to be going to San Vicente Bungalows very soon. The continuation of. So, Alyssa, I would love to get started. You have so much I'm so excited to pick your brain about, but let's take it back to what first got you started into all this holistic nutrition.
Well, I just fast track it a little because it's a long story. But when I was little, I was sick all the time. I had this low white blood cell count. And in those days, my immune system was compromised and no one knew what to do with that. No one knew about vitamin D. No one knew about, just good food, healthy food, so I was always getting sick and I felt really lethargic, tired, was always eating crappy food to like increase my energy. And I kind of grew up with these parents that were type A and would run circles around me. And here I was like maybe a teenager and they were in their like early 40s and they're still running circles around me. So I kind of was like, what the hell is happening? Tired all the time, out late, would get sick. And then my emotional well-being took a toll because I felt like I couldn't keep up and I wasn't good enough. And so I followed the fast track of life, went into the advertising business, lived in New York for 10 years. And then I moved my husband to LA because I'm originally from the West Coast, Arizona. And I got a dream job with Vogue magazine.
Whoa.
I know. I thought it was it, but it really was not it.
Yeah.
And it was definitely Devil Wears Prada. And 6 months in, I got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my gosh.
And I was getting a massage, and the masseuse found a lymph node on my collarbone. And the only reason she felt it there was I was sitting upright getting the massage. And she's like, you shouldn't have a swollen lymph node on your collarbone. And the next thing I knew, it was cancer.
So how long from that massage when she found that lymph did you go to the doctor and they confirmed?
Right away. Because I was scared shitless.
Yes.
And then I went to my general practitioner. He felt it and was like, oh my God, it could be cancer. I mean, the way these doctors treat you, or did, most of them, still today they do, is so shitty, They scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
I went to the cancer doctor. I went to like various other doctors. I'm so thankful for the masseuse, first of all. Second of all, there was another doctor in this whole scheme of things. He was an oncologist and he was at St. John's, and I had my test in terms of like what stage it was, and it was an early stage. Went to see him and he sat me down and he goes, are you happy? Do you love what you do? Do you love your husband? Do you love your life? Do you love yourself? And I was like, oh my God, who asked that? And that was so life-changing. Melissa, it was just like absolutely like no one asks that these days.
No one.
No. So I changed my whole mental well-being. I went into therapy. I read every self-help book. I went and did yoga. I just really started diving into nutrition and food and what was going to make me happy and feel good.
So that's so interesting because not many doctors say that. And a lot of doctors are either like, oh, it's genetic, or, oh, it's so random, but here's what you do, chemo and yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So that's pretty amazing that that doctor said that because it really makes you look inward. So I would love to hear, we'll back it up to modern day, what, through all the readings you've done, through all the healing you've done, and we're going to get even more into your story, what your take is on cancer today. Like, why do you think it comes about? What is it? Do you think there's a meaning behind it? And kind of what your thoughts are on cancer, present day Elissa.
No one has ever asked me that question. That's beautiful. Cancer is very interesting. I do think it's hugely mindset, stress, living in fight or flight mode. I think we all have cancer cells, microscopic cancer cells in our body that either manifest or don't manifest. Because I think we all have viral, bacterial, fungal, we all have toxins, right?
Yeah.
So I think we still have cancer cells. And I think when you're not sleeping, when you're stressed, when you've gone through trauma, you're not eating well, I think that's when these things can manifest.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I've read all those books, Radical Remission, Radical Hope, seen the Heal podcast, seen
I love the Heal
I do
podcast.
too. I know Kelly Gores is amazing. And I've seen stage 4 cancer heal holistically. It's wild when someone has to completely change their lifestyle and really does have to go inward and ask themselves those questions. Can I heal? Am I capable of healing? Do I love myself enough to honor my body and really take care of it and take it to the next level?
Yeah, in a way, it's almost like cancer really makes you face yourself because A, you're scared shitless.
Yeah.
And B, if you really dig into some of the studies out there, you do learn that there's a lot of a holistic element to it. Okay, so let's go back. So you're in your dream job, 6 months in at Vogue.
Yeah.
They found cancer. So you started to read all the books and what have you. And I read that you didn't want to necessarily go down the chemo route because you had a compromised immune system. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just felt like it was going to destroy me. There was something about energetically chemo, like I was supposed to do chemo and radiation. I didn't want to do either, but really the doctors and my friends and family were freaking out that I wasn't choosing to do anything. So I did half the radiation, and I had to find a doctor to do half the radiation because my oncologist basically said, I can't treat you because you're not following my protocol. So that was wild. That was also scary. But I did the radiation, which today I wish I hadn't, because when they radiated my upper body where it was, I got, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, they also radiated down my gut. So I got celiac. So I got a lot of issues afterwards, anxiety, hormonal issues, crazy stuff. And then also, damaged skin as well. So it was a bummer, but I thank God I just did half the radiation and I did get better. And I went on to have 2 healthy girls. And then my husband was diagnosed with cancer 11 and a half years later after mine, and he wasn't as successful. He had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So we both had lymphatic cancer, which was interesting. And he did 2 bone marrow transplants, which we talked about, in a year and a half, which is unheard of. 1 is enough to take you down and it's a lot to recover from. But 2 is a tremendous amount. And he died of fungal pneumonia. So it wasn't the cancer. It was his immune system.
Wow.
I know.
So I definitely want to go do part of your husband's journey as well. It's very ironic that is the same cancer and 2 obviously completely different outcomes. And I'm very sorry that you guys had to go through that. We'll take it from your cancer. So you started reading all these books. Obviously you did partial radiation. In terms of diet and mindset work, what do you feel were the heavy hitter things where you noticed a complete change? At what stage did you realize you were in remission? I would just love to go deeper into your cancer journey.
So I was really lucky because I was living in California and it was Mrs. Gooch's at the time. So there was a really great, healthy, store that I could go shop at with organic vegetables and organic meats, a little bit ahead of its time now that it's Whole Foods.
And you were not into such a holistic diet before the cancer, but it scared you straight. So you're like Mrs. Gooch's.
Mrs. Gooch's. Also Beverly Hills Juice, which is still there today.
Oh, actually on West 3rd or Beverly.
Yeah. Beverly, I would walk there from our apartment and I would juice every day. So the juicing was phenomenal. And I was actually drinking carrot juice, which interestingly, I don't know if that was so healthy because it's so much sugar, carrots. And I love beet juice because it also got me high because of so much sugar. But I would drink juices every day. I became vegan. So I took out the sugar, took out the caffeine. I wasn't the greatest vegan because I didn't know how to be a vegan. So I didn't have the greatest energy and had some brain fog. But I felt like, adding more vegetables into my diet, juicing, also going to see a therapist, doing yoga, and also just, hiking or being out in nature and sunshine was the ticket. I mean, that just, things that were not so difficult to do.
Yeah. So I've become really big into nervous system regulation. I think it's something that really gets discredited, and it's something that's so seemingly obvious,
Yeah.
and the whole fight or flight thing. And I feel like just learning more about you, I feel like a big part of your recovery was kind of these quote unquote more woo woo things, or being in nature and mindset work. So
True.
did you have certain parameters on your blood work that showed different things like in your nervous system, like your cortisol levels or something that was really high, and that you compared to after you started doing meditation and yoga and what
Yeah.
I like to call forest bathing?
Yes. Well, it was interesting because in those days, like blood work wasn't as thorough as it is today. So I don't ever remember them testing my
Yeah.
cortisol, right? They didn't test my thyroid. They didn't test like damn anything.
Yeah.
It was like a CBC, with vitamin D. I mean, even blood sugar, what
You were
glucose was tested. But
32
I
when you
was
had this
32, so I
cancer?
was like
A
over
baby.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was total in fight or flight mode consistently my whole entire life. I just lived there. I lived that lifestyle with how I grew up. And I just thought that I was, fight or flight mode meant success, like, climbing the corporate ladder, making a lot of money. Like that was what I was raised to do. And when I realized, that wasn't making me happy, the Vogue job wasn't making me happy, the cancer definitely wasn't making me happy. So I just, I regrouped and I did do a ton of meditation and I did yoga almost every day. And I did really sleep. Sleep became super crucial and regulating my nervous system. So I feel like, nowadays that regulating your nervous system and getting out of fight or flight is like life changing and it's talked about all the time, the parasympathetic nervous system. But it wasn't still talked about 30 years ago.
I'm not saying they did yoga back then. Actually, they did. They did do yoga back then. But basically, good, clean, what has the earth given us, what's on the earth for us to eat, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So you started sleeping better, you took up yoga, you started being in nature more. Is there any other type of like healing modalities you did that you really saw a profound change to your recovery from cancer?
I did some things later that were profound. I realized when I tapped into the self-help stuff, I realized that I really didn't honor who I was and I didn't love myself
Yeah.
and I didn't have any peace. So I didn't even know what that was. That was huge when I like really kind of tapped into that. Like, I had to do a shit ton of work on like getting grounded and a little more self-esteem and just really honoring like who I was, taking the flaws with me and not being so focused on the flaws, and just accepting them and loving them and, just really knowing that I could heal and be a better person. I also had labeled myself, and my whole family and friends had labeled me a sick kid. Now, you know how the first 7 years of your life, your subconscious is fully downloaded.
Yes.
So I was labeled a sick kid my first 7 years of my life. So I had to really work on that mode because I always was looking over my shoulder, what other illness is going to come my way? Because, I was the sick kid.
It's so
So that
crazy.
subconscious was
Yeah.
huge.
Those years are everything. And, some people, everyone has a degree of traumatic childhood, whether it's they've been bullied on a playground or they had like an abusive parent. Trauma is, imprinted in the body, and people think it's such like a big, heavy word, but it's an imprint. So that's definitely something that was subconscious programming, right? The sick kid. And you
Yeah.
manifested into a sick young adult.
Exactly.
Was there any other things from childhood you remember that took a lot of work in, I guess, unwiring, if you will?
Oh my God. That's a whole other podcast, right? That's an emotional podcast growing up with, a certain type of mom and all of that, which was really, really tricky. I know she's not going to listen to this podcast, but she was definitely a narcissist. So, that whole narcissism is crazy on children, like really crazy to have you have some self, awareness and self-esteem and, really feel good about yourself. So, I feel like, fast forwarding, I know we're still back in those days, but thank God, I've just was dedicated to changing my life and my world with all of that. I didn't want to have those same relationships that I saw, that I had with my mom, with my girls. I have the two girls. So, I had to just really do a lot of, just this, that I did plant medicine. I did, all kinds of weird meditations, and, I still do meditation and all of that, and energy work and Reiki. And I was Reiki certified at one point. Like I crystals. I love
all the things.
I love it all.
Yeah.
I did it all. So, and I still love like exploring and all of it when I feel like I need it. I still feel like I need a little bit of it each day,
No, absolutely. So I feel like at my podcast, we delve into nutrition a lot, but there's so much here that you've done. I would love to go into it more. So at the core of this, you said you needed to get grounded. And now you're kind of telling us how with the meditation, some weird meditations, plant medicine. Like, were you journaling? Like, what were you doing every day where you're like, I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger, I'm rewiring my thoughts, and all that stuff that really stuck that you really credit number one to your healing. And I would love to also hear about your plant medicine experience.
I know it. That's such a fascinating one because it's becoming really big right now.
You were ahead of your time.
I was ahead of my time a little bit. But journaling was a big part of it too, right? I do still journal. I still do, at the end of the day, need to write down what I'm frustrated about, what's stopping me from getting to that next place and really releasing it. And then I try to bring in what I want. I think journaling is like exceptional because I think you can think it in your head, but once you put it down on paper, it's crazy what can happen for you, right? I'm sure you've done that.
I have. I'm trying to get more and more into it. And everyone says the same thing.
It's crazy. At one point, I was working with an energy healer. I've worked with healers for 15 years. And he said to me, every day, I want you to write down what you're frustrated with, what you're upset with. And like, I went for 30 days writing down almost the same thing. Like, it was really wild. Like, I kept repeating, I'm so frustrated with this, that same thing. And after 30 days, I was like, okay, it's gone. But it took 30 days.
And it was gone because you then recognized a pattern and you said, oh.
Yeah.
That's so
I don't need to keep going with this.
So you just let it go.
I let it go. I wish I had let it go before the 30 days, but it took 30 days.
Us humans, like, we're so unaware of our subconscious programming, but that's a really great example where if you journal, you'll start to see your programming.
And sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it doesn't take just a week or a few days to really get where you need to be with the journaling, or the yoga or the meditation. Sometimes it really takes commitment, and it's commitment to yourself.
Yes.
Like, are you committed to yourself enough to heal from your illnesses, or to just be a happier, healthier person? And I see clients on a daily basis, and a lot of them aren't.
So you went from 0 to yoga every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, at least 5 days a week.
That's really impressive.
It is really, it grounds me because I am still I'm a fast moving girl. I'm an Aries and I'm like, okay, let's get shit done,
I love it.
So I'm sure you're like that too. I'm sure
Capricorn.
Capricorn? Okay. So I'm like still having to go, okay, rein it in, Elissa. Then the yoga does help that, and the walking and just, the meditating and the journaling and, going to bed early at a certain time, just really trying to get that sleep is crucial.
Sleep is like number one.
I know.
I always love to say sleep is the competitive advantage, but in this situation, it's the survival advantage.
Yes, it is. It was.
So let's talk about your plant medicine experience, and we'll move on to talk a bit about your husband.
Okay. The plant medicine was crazy amazing. My first journey was
it ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca.
I love it.
And I did it after my husband died. A year after my husband died, my yoga instructor would go down to Peru and do it. I did it in LA, and she was there with me. She took me there, and it was so wild because on that I was so distraught and tired and didn't know what I was going to do with my life when it was just my husband had just passed away with the two girls. And I'm like, what the fuck is going to happen to me? And I don't know if I'm going to be able to raise these two girls, have them be healthy, happy girls. I was so scared to do it on my own. And I went to do the journey, fast forward, and in the plant medicine journey, I saw my husband there. He used to love to play golf. So he was on this beautiful golf course. He looked gorgeous. And
You're like, oh, hey,
I
honey.
know, I was like, what the hell happened? And I'm like, how come you left me here? Like, why? Like, I'm not sure I could do this on my own, without you. I don't know if I can raise two girls on my own. And
Man, I have the worst
I
chills.
know. And he was like, you absolutely can. I would never have left you if you weren't strong enough to do this. I never in a million years. You are strong enough to do this. And I know that you are capable of this. And I was like, oh my God, everything changed after that. It was like, it was the most beautiful experience. I mean, there were like things that went on in terms of like, my childhood after that, like looking and seeing how I did label myself a sick kid and how, I really didn't honor myself or love myself or have any peace and all of that. I did see that on the journey. But the part about him telling me I could do this and I was strong was so beautiful. I mean, that got me into that mode of, okay, I can do this. And then the next journey I did psilocybin. I've done a lot of different plants. And the psilocybin, that's when I really saw, how much I was fearful of another disease coming still, and that I'd labeled myself a sick kid. And that on that journey, I did feel peace for the first time in my entire life. Like, very first time. I was like, this is what peace feels like. I had never felt calm, no anxiety. I know a lot of people can relate to that because we're all kind of anxious. We live in an anxious world, right? And especially after all this stuff that happened in my life. And yeah, I felt this peace and I'm like, I want that. I want that more often than visiting that. Yeah. So, and I was also scared of my girls getting sick. With two parents who had cancer, I'm like, oh my God, could they get cancer now? And I saw in the journey that they were going to be fine. They're totally.
You saw that on the journey?
Yeah, I was going to be fine. They're going to be fine. We're going to be better than fine. And just like everything changed after that. I mean, my health got better.
After the mushroom journey.
After my thyroid. My hypothyroidism got better.
Did you see little elves do body work?
No.
Okay, people tell me it's a thing, okay?
Oh, that's wild. No, it was a lot of energy. Like I would hold my hands like this and there was like this force of energy, like a ball of energy. And I remember my shaman saying, put that energy where you need to heal. And I put it on my thyroid.
So this was while you had the medicine, the shaman said that.
There was a shaman there with me the whole time because
this was in LA.
Yeah, you go through these periods where they're kind of dark.
Yeah.
And then, you can you got to release them and he's there to help you release the dark parts and to get you past that and to subconsciously release those patterns of thoughts that aren't serving you anymore.
So after this psilocybin, your body healed itself of
the hypothyroidism was better, the Hashimoto's was better, the celiac was better, I felt better, my sleep was better, my hormones were better. I'm not saying that one journey is going to heal all of that. I mean, I had done a lot of work and I still do on myself.
Yes.
So
well, it's a culmination of all the above.
Yeah, I don't want to lead anyone down the wrong path.
Well, I had hypothyroidism. And I put it into remission through diet. Literally, I did it for 5 months. I probably should have done it longer. I got rid of 2 whole strains of mold, still have a third one to go, but I'm 70% mold free from where I was. And the same thing, it scared me straight. One of the strains was linked to cancer in rats, and I got scared straight.
Oh, I bet. That is. I mean, mold is everywhere. That is a scary one. Yeah. Everyone should get tested for mold at some point, right?
I'm obsessed.
That's true.
So how long from when you started to do all this work and diet change did you, I guess, go into remission from cancer?
Well, it was kind of like, I think, a year after I started all this, the juicing, the healthy food, the plant-based eating, the self-help, the yoga. I even did colonics. I did acupuncture, naturopath. Everything was in LA. So it was very cool. Like, I'm glad I had moved here. That was, someone was telling me to come to LA.
Where were you before? New York, right?
Yeah. So I went into remission year end, and then I had my first child 2 years later. So I had to wait until I was, 2 years to really get pregnant. And so I stayed healthy for a little bit until I had the girls. And then I kind of reverted back to a little bit of an unhealthy lifestyle. I dabbled in it, but not as what I was doing when I was sick.
When you're sick or if you have, certain gut permeabilities, if you go on the straight and narrow for a certain amount of time and you have to cut foods that no longer serve you, you could integrate some of it back later. Totally. So, as we talked offline, I'm big into balance, but
Right.
when you're sick and fighting something, especially something as scary as cancer, yeah, throw the kitchen sink at it. And
true.
that's incredible.
I
So
wish they had bone broth then.
right?
They did, it wasn't, they had chicken soup, but it wasn't
Yeah.
really bone. They didn't have like all the stuff they have today in those days,
I
So
know.
it's wild.
And it's so crazy because bone broth is something that cavemen use. So it's wild that it's becoming more and more prevalent now. It's like, where have you been the last 20 years?
yeah,
bone
I
broth?
know. It's been around, but just not in the forefront.
Yes.
Right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. And quickly, if someone was just, dipping their toes into this wellness journey and they're like, okay, plant medicine might be the thing for me, is there a road you would recommend them down, ayahuasca or psilocybin?
You know what? I would definitely, they could contact me, through my email, Elissa@elissagoodman.com. They could contact me and I can lead them down a road, because it's not legal. Yeah. So it's a little bit tricky. But I did like the psilocybin the best. Yeah. Some people love the ayahuasca, and there's a clinic in Costa Rica that does ayahuasca that a lot of people go to. But I love the mushrooms. I still do. They're
Me
like
too.
gentler.
Okay, so your husband. So you had two daughters. Then you found out your husband was diagnosed with the same cancer, and he ended up dying from pneumonia during his cancer journey. So when your husband was diagnosed, did he kind of take the same approach as you, or?
Not at all.
I would love to hear, and I know that's extremely difficult, especially when you've been through it and but at the end of the day, as we were talking again offline, you could lead a horse to water. So if you're comfortable sharing like that journey, we'd love to hear it. If it's something you'd rather not talk about, happy to move on.
No, it's really sad because I wasn't sure. His dad died of cancer when he was 2, of melanoma. So, that also, as we talked about, the imprint of that subconscious for him, I kept thinking that was probably pretty strong because he was definitely more afraid of the cancer than I was, but he definitely was farther along in his cancer than I was too. So I feel like I didn't know if it was subconsciously that he was just terrified that he was going to die from it, or he just let the doctors do whatever they were going to do on him. He never questioned anything. The doctors said to him, diet's not going to change anything. Lifestyle's not going to change anything. Sleep and it's not going to change anything. Yeah, go home and eat some ice cream, fried chicken, whatever.
No, what kind of doctor is
I know.
this?
This is your cancer oncologist at really high-end places. I thought I was crazy. I even brought in like a natural path to help us. I brought in all these people to help with like supplements and, things like that. And he just had a really hard time with all of that. And so I kind of had to let go and just support him where he was. I really never thought he would die because he was so young.
And he was with you the whole time you went through your journey.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it didn't ever really fully rub off on him. I mean, he loved exercise. He loved being in good shape. He was in good shape. He went to Barry's boot camp every day. He was one of those, but he was really high intensity. Yeah. And I think that fight or flight was tough.
Yeah, those workouts, like obviously you get, strong, but I feel like now they're saying, even like walking's better than running.
I know, the cortisol
is so rough on your body. And like, I used to be a big Barry's boot camp girl, but it's like a very like New York City style workout. You know what I mean? Like, I got the aggression out. Right. Where I think that slowing down, I feel like is key to slowing down our nervous systems.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, your adrenaline and cortisol are pumping through those crazy workouts, It's good for a period of time, but like ongoing. He would get up at 5:30, didn't sleep, had a really high intensity job. He loved sugar. I'm not saying sugar totally gave him cancer, but animal protein and sugar were his 2 favorite things. And he was on the Atkins diet for a long time. So, we're not sure how healthy that is or was. It was just animal protein and vegetables. And it was a little keto-esque. I don't mind keto for a short period of time, but long periods of time, I don't think it's
It's
the
not
healthiest.
sustainable for anyone.
Yeah. And then the sugar, whoa. After every meal, he had to have sugar. He had a sugar candy jar in his office.
Sugar is a killer, like an absolute killer.
That was bad.
Sugar and processed food.
And love to drink alcohol and all that. I'm a moderate. I'm not a sugar girl anymore, but I like all different, foods. I love food. I do drink alcohol, so I'm definitely not perfect. But yeah, it was really hard to watch him go from this strong, healthy man at 43 and a half to, dying of fungal pneumonia at 45 and such a young age. And so it was, I feel like that was my calling. It was like, okay, now I really need to get out there and talk to people about, how to really embrace this journey in the way that can work for you.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to embrace it the way I did, but there are really amazing modalities out there that can help you through it. And if you choose to do chemo and radiation, there are ways and things that can help protect you as you're going through it too. That's the beautiful thing. And also just, trying to get into a healthier mindset is huge. And just the food in itself is, food is medicine, really incorporating healthy foods into your diet, even though the doctor says
I mean,
you don't have
that's
to.
crazy. I remember sitting there with my mom's doctor, and you become a little bit your parent, especially in situations like these. So I'm trying to look for a sounding board with the doctor. She's not going to listen to me, and I'm like, and some good food will help her, right? He's like, no, it's not scientifically proven. I'm like, yeah, but it will help, right? And it's crazy. You can't get some of these doctors to budge, and they're just not equipped they're just equipped, okay, diagnosis, medicine, chemo, diagnosis. And it's kind of sad because there's so many miracles it's not miracles. It's
Right.
just, there's alternative ways. And I just wish that word gets around more. I feel like it finally is starting to. But B, I also, aside from diet, food really is medicine, and you are what you eat. And I know you're a big proponent of that. But it's crazy how much the mind controls. Your mind controls you. You control, your inner world controls your outer world. Right. And I think that's food was initially an avant-garde way of healing. Now it's becoming more socially acceptable. And now I feel like the inner world, outer world thing is super avant-garde, but we're just warming up on that.
I think the combination of those two is just stellar. If you can. Also, I notice, with people when they sit down to eat and they're stressed or they're watching TV or they're distracted, and they're eating this healthy food, I don't feel like they're going to absorb it and really, take it in, and it's going to heal them when they're not in a place of really believing that this food is healing. I see that a lot with my cleanse, I see people going a million miles an hour, eating this great food, but really not taking the time to enjoy it and bless it. And
no, it's so true. And there's so much addiction to our screens and stuff like that. That's just made people so everyone's nervous systems are just shot. It's so much stimulation, whether it's Instagram, the dating apps, Candy Crush, all the things.
Yeah.
So how far into your husband's cancer did he pass of pneumonia? And what he passed of pneumonia in his hospital stay?
Yep. Yes.
He was in the hospital for chemo?
Yes. He was finishing up his second stem cell transplant, and he got pneumonia and passed away. So he was in the hospital.
Because you said he had 2 bone marrow
transplants in a year and a half, like crazy.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It was we were in and out of hospitals, and it was exhausting. I know that a lot of people go through longer periods of this, cancer, which is also exhausting. All of it is exhausting. And being in hospitals is no fun, as you probably know, with your mom, potentially, It's just not a really great environment for people to heal, for cancer patients for any of it, and their food sucks.
Not at all. So why were they recommending him to be a candidate of a bone marrow transplant?
I think he was so terrified because the cancer kept coming back. After he did the first bone marrow transplant, which is his own bone marrow transplant, 3 months later, the cancer came back. So there was no other way of treating him other than a donor. So that's what happened.
The second transfer was
a
from
donor.
a donor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That must have been so challenging for you because you know what you know at this point, and you've been through it. So that must have been such a challenging time. I couldn't even imagine what you went through of just standing by and just hoping and praying for the best and trying to be as supportive as possible.
Yeah, and it was just like so sad still today.
Yeah.
That, couldn't be there for the girls and watch them grow up and get married. And it's heartbreaking. The people who die young, I mean, it's just like from cancer or these illnesses. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
And how old were your girls when he passed?
10 and 7. I know. And it's been really hard for them, because that's was those ages where they were in those early ages when he was diagnosed. They were in the fear-based mode. They still kind of live in a fear-based mode. When anybody in our family gets sick, they go right to that PTSD mode that they were living in those days. So it's hard. It's a hard place for them to continually try to get past it at some point. I hope they do.
Yes. Yeah. Once again, their journey.
Right.
You're there to be their shaman until they're 18.
Yes. Yeah. And I love being there for them. And it's cool to be able to be doing this and living this life and showing them as I age, I've gotten healthier and better and feel so much stronger in my world.
You look fabulous.
Thank you.
I'm like, tell me everything you're doing.
I feel like, I hopefully could be a spokesperson for people who age or even anybody who has illnesses, because I've had so many and that we've gotten past, and we put into remission. I think it's so possible. So I really think that you can get stronger and better and age well and age really have energy and have your same stamina. I mean, I feel better now than I did when I was in my 20s.
I believe it. I mean, you're doing all the things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk more about present day, Elissa.
Okay.
So we've got, it's SOUP cleanse. Could you please take us through that? I think I have an idea that we know the inspiration behind it.
Right.
But please take us through it and tell us more about it.
It was really cool when I graduated from my integrative nutrition program. Cafe Gratitude had just come down from San Francisco to LA, and a girlfriend asked me to put a cleanse together for Cafe Gratitude. And I was like, what the hell is a cleanse? So, but it was easy with my advertising marketing background and their food. I did that for 4.5, 5 years. And I handheld the cleansers. So I learned a lot about people and what they had going on and what was working and what wasn't working. And a year into that cleanse, I started M Cafe. It's a macrobiotic restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And I did that for 6.5 years. And so I handheld those people as well and also worked with doctors.
I didn't realize you started M Cafe.
I know.
Wait, that's amazing.
I did both of them for a period of time. I loved it. They helped me launch my career. And I worked with Erewhon for a very short period of time. I have a juice at Erewhon and a bar at Erewhon right now.
I love it.
And I did a cleanse early on in the early days when the new owners took over. And then that's when my assistant at the time said, we should do our own program. And it started 9 years ago. And we decided to call it SOUP, which was soup and salad, organic, unique, and P prepared with love. Energy was so crucial.
Energy is crucial.
Energy with the food. And so we started it with a detox tonic, a homemade super seed bar, salads, soups, fermented veggies, lattes. There's still a lot of the same stuff on there. And I have to tell you, it's mind-blowing that we're still in 9 years doing these same things. And they're still working and they're still, people still love them.
It's not broken, don't fix it. Right?
So it's a 5-day. We do a 3-day now. And I actually now do a gut cleanse. I've been doing that for a year and a half. And so on the gut cleanse, there's activated charcoal. There's more fiber. So I'm trying to really kind of clean people out with that one and lower pathogen loads. So that's super fun too. We do all of those, and we're coming up with a digestive reset, which is going to be more liquids. So it'll be a 3-day hardcore digestive reset. So then we have a bone broth too. So
I love it. See?
yeah, everybody has to have a bone broth, right?
Plant-based with bone broth.
Yes,
See?
it's
I think
yes,
it's so
beautiful.
smart.
Yeah.
I think it's so smart. I mean, I'm obviously someone who eats meat, but like I was telling you, I'm zucchini obsessed, and I'll cook a lot of veggies and have my bone broth, and then, a few days a week have like a whole protein, like a fish or a meat, and I get on my way.
Right.
Still
and you
on
feel
my
good.
health journey. I feel good.
You feel good. Yeah.
Still on my health journey. But I feel good. I'm going to need to do an Elissa Goodman cleanse to really feel good and clear it all.
Yeah.
So I read up that you speak about a cleanse, but I don't think you're speaking about your cleanse when you say this. You recommend it a lot in your nutrition practice for people to do a cleanse. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, I shouldn't say cleanse, really. I mean, it's not really a cleanse. It's just anti-inflammatory eating. Yes. It's taking out most of the inflammatory foods. We do have a little edamame, so sometimes soy bothers people, or tomatoes or cucumbers or, but so it's just no gluten, no dairy, no processed food. And the chicken is super healthy, for the chicken broth. I mean, if you're vegan, there's vegan broth, but, and I am an animal protein eater. So it's just like a reset. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but you probably do, but it takes 14 hours for animal protein to go through your small intestine and cow dairy. And it takes 90 minutes for plant-based food. So if you want to do a reset, it's a beautiful thing to just do a period of time of vegetables, plant forward, small amounts of animal protein.
I want to tie it back to plant medicine. Also,
Yeah.
if you do plant medicine, you need to be vegan for a week.
You do. You do. She's right. She's right.
But
you just
now,
need to be cleaned
now
out.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
I always wondered, but I was like, whatever. Because it's something I want to do. I want to do one of these psilocybin deep situations, and you have to, but now I know you have to clear it out.
You have to clear it out, clean up your system. So, some people eat like this all the time, like weekly. I did have someone on it for 1.5 years weekly during COVID, and I do have people who do it once a month and, or once a quarter. So it's just really about just kind of resetting your body. 5 days of this food can reset everything: sleep, brain fog, gut health, hormones, give you energy. It's kind of wild that 5 days.
It's amazing.
You could turn things around so quickly.
You really could, though. I've seen so much change in 5 days. I've seen insane changes in 2 weeks, different.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. That's even beautiful if you do it for 2 weeks.
Yeah. What's your take on water fasting?
So I've never really been someone who's done water fasting because I love to eat too much.
Me too. I know.
I know it's a beautiful thing for people. I love cell autophagy and, I love fasting. I think it's really kind of crucial for some cancer patients. Yes. I love prolong to some degree for cancer patients. There's so much research about that fasting protocol. If you do it before you start chemo works better.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot, and chroma is another good,
I like
one,
chroma a lot.
Right? So I think that fasting can be good. Fasting is a little bit like a buzzword these days, and it's good for some people and not so good for everybody.
Totally.
I think if you have adrenal fatigue and you have low blood sugar, as you probably already know, it's probably not the greatest for you.
Totally.
So
yeah, I always have a thing, especially with women in intermittent fasting. We're just a ball of hormones.
True.
Let's just eat regularly.
You're right. Some women, it's not so great.
Yeah, I'm one of those women, but I'm intrigued by water fasting. I'm just, like you, I want to throw the kitchen sink at it, but maybe it's the Elissa Goodman cleanse I need to do.
Right. I mean, it's an easy cleanse because it's not about starvation or deprivation. We're trying to nurture you and nourish you. Those are the key words. I want you to chill out, calm down, get you into the parasympathetic, and with warm, soothing, nurturing foods, and also just lower the inflammation.
That makes a lot of sense, because when you're hungry, or when I'm hungry, it's not pretty.
You're hangry, right? Right. You're good. Then you're stressed.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. And your book, Cancer Hacks. Could you go, I mean, the name sounds obvious, what you talk about, but maybe you could give us 3 takeaway highlights from the book.
Yeah, so the cancer hacks is my story and my husband's story about what we did right and what we did wrong. And I would say, the takeaways are just really tuning in to yourself and finding some peace and self-love and knowing you can heal from cancer. Believe anyone can heal from cancer. I mean, that's huge. That self-love, that feeling that you have what it takes to heal, because everyone has what it takes. That's huge. And then it's also like nurturing and nourishing your body with healthy, vibrant food that's full of nutrients, not nutrient deprived, because like really foods that are grown from the earth. I think that is so crucial too, whether it's, just adding more plants into your world or juicing or, just really adding in those really good foods. And I would say the third thing is, detoxing. We didn't really talk about detoxing per se. I know cleansing and detoxing, so I had to get joined together, but really detoxing the body of, fungal, bacterial mold, heavy metals. All of that stuff I think is crucial because those are all cancer causing.
Oh, it really is. And what are your top tips for detoxing?
So I would say there's some, infrared saunas are fantastic. I would also say that there's some supplements out there on the market that are great. They're binders that can help.
Some binders.
Yeah. I love blood work too, to see what's going on,
totally.
like even a GI map for your gut, or even just testing your heavy metals, or, finding out if you have mold or parasites.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
I'm like, it's either A or B. I'm convinced.
Right. And then it's the binders, or it's, even I love this supplement I take it kind of daily because I'm like always thinking I need to detox, but Pure Encapsulations has a GI liver detox.
Oh, nice.
That I love. It helps with the gut and it helps with the liver. So I think liver is really crucial. And I think, really detoxing your liver and paying attention to that is huge because everything goes through the liver. I would probably say really water and hydration, like hydrating your body so you can go to the bathroom regularly.
It's so true.
Right?
Hydration is such an under realized. It's so simple and so powerful. Proper hydration and making sure, especially a lot of people with these fancy water filters, they're not remineralizing the water. Crucial.
Totally. You're 100% right. Minerals are crucial. And we're not drinking minerals, right? That is like, we don't have water. We're just peeing out the water. We're not absorbing it.
Yeah, nothing.
Right. And we're not really being able to hydrate our body to the fullest so we can get the detox, the lymphatic system, the organs, and all of that. It's really crucial.
So I had a bit of an aha moment before when you were talking, 2 aha moments, but I think we'll do the second aha moment at the very end. Okay. So what I realized when you were talking, you had to heal from all your autoimmunities and number one thing, cancer. And then your husband went through that. Then your husband passed. How did you do the healing process and grieving your husband? That's a whole other thing to heal from.
Right. That's a whole other podcast.
I know. I had the aha moment.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God. She had to heal too from her husband's passing.
Yeah. I would have to say the plant medicine, the journaling and the meditation and the yoga are really phenomenal, but to really take me to the next level and to be able to really get past the grieving process, it was probably the plant medicine that helped me see that I was going to be okay and life was going to be okay. Like I could live life without him. I didn't want to, but that I was, that life needed to go on. And I did need to figure out how to, move forward with my life. So the healing process for all the health issues was easier than the husband stuff and the mourning of the death of my girl's dad. Because I dove into this world, the wellness world, and there's so many fabulous modalities out there today that can help you heal and heal quickly these days. So I feel like that process wasn't as hard because I was so fascinated by it. And I, like we said earlier, I'm a type A and I was going to figure out how to heal no matter what.
Aries.
Yeah.
Wow. And a question that I should have asked earlier, but it was meant to be to ask now. Okay. How did you, Elissa, learn to love yourself?
It was through all of the hardship. I realized that, I was, starting to help people, and it felt so like intoxicating to help people. And when I asked people, my clients, do you love yourself? And most of them said no. And then I had to tap into my own feeling of that. Like for some reason that made me feel like, do I love myself? I'm not sure. And that's when I realized, wow, I really need to like dive in and figure out why I don't love myself. And again, it was back to the plant medicine. It was like when I went on those journeys, I saw that I didn't love myself, and I was able to release that thought pattern and really take it in and be like, wow, I'm pretty cool. Like not in an ego way.
No, I love that.
Not like no ego there.
If you can't be your fan, who will be? No one.
That's
right?
a beautiful way to put it. I was not a fan of myself, but I became a fan of myself.
I'm like, I'm a fan of you.
I'm a fan of you too.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're fans of each other, but like a lot of times we're not fans of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think
Our
that
harshest critic.
And I was a harsh critic. So to be able to like, go, wow, that is doing me no good things. It is making me sick. It's making me ill. It's making me also not have great relationships in my life. And it's also making, I think, my work not be where it needs to be. Because I feel like I need to love myself for my clients to be able to feel that from me. And also they can sense like what that feels like.
Yes. Okay. Before we go into how people could find you, what do you love most about yourself?
I love the fact that I get to do what I do for a living, helping people heal, helping people like get in touch with themselves and really honor who they are and believe in themselves. It is the most incredible experience. I never thought in a million years I would be doing this for a living, but I think to be able to like change someone's life is life-changing.
Yeah, it really is. It's wild, the arc of your story and your journey. Vogue, it's like the coveted job
Totally.
that you dream of as a teenager.
Yep.
And the full spectrum of healing and everything. What a beautiful story. How could people find you? How could people work with you? And how could they order the cleanse?
Yeah, thank you. I have a website, Elissa Goodman, and pretty easy to find, Elissa Goodman. The cleanse is on there. We make bars that we ship out across the country. We have granola now that we ship out across the country, and all the different cleanses. And I work with clients one-on-one and do Zoom calls. And the thing I'm most excited about right now that we didn't talk about is I am doing my own blood work on all my clients.
Oh, wow.
So I'm hooked up with Rupa in San Francisco, and a kit can come to your house of the blood work, thorough blood work, heavy metals, everything. And basically like get your blood drawn in your house or go to Quest easily, and then send it back, and I get the blood work back in a matter of 2 weeks, and I can analyze people of like exactly what's wrong physically. We do nutrient deficiency tests as well, and I can like really go in and change their life in a quick amount of time.
Wow.
Because the blood
5
work
days.
the blood work we were getting from, doctors was just not full and practical and didn't give me any information.
Totally.
So now we're doing a package, and that has been so much fun.
Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really,
and
really
it's $260
exciting.
for
Oh
the
my
blood work, by the
gosh.
way.
Run, don't walk.
Exactly.
Literally, that's incredible.
It is incredible. I know. I feel so lucky that I kind of got turned on to that, and I got into that, and I love reading blood work. So it was a lucky thing.
The inner nerds, like coding, blood work.
Right.
That's
exactly.
amazing.
Thank you.
And then when could you anticipate anti-aging hacks to come out? Because we all want to look like you.
Probably next year, the first part of next year. I wish this year, but I don't know if it's going to get there.
It sounds like you're plenty busy, so let's not stress yourself out.
I know. The only thing is that there's so much to learn about anti-aging that I feel like there's still a lot in process.
There is, but it just sounds like you're going to have to make another book.
True.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Elissa. This has been incredible.
Thank you for having me. I loved being here.
I know. This is great.